Welcome back, everybody, to Ultimate CNFT. Mike, aka Mr. Ultimate. We're coming at you today. I'm very honored to have on as a guest Nalu from Pond. Nalu, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on today. Excited to talk with you about space, about what we both have going on, and just kind of what the future is looking like for everybody.
Yes, sir. So you and I, we got introduced to each other, I think about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. We had this great conversation. I was really glad that you and I got in touch with each other because I'm interested in what you're doing from my perspectives in many different facets, but also, for the CNFT space and for people who don't really know exactly what you guys have going on and how much has changed since you started everything that you've been doing. I'm excited to have you share that with us, from the founder's words to the ears of my listeners. This is really fantastic. So, thank you for being here. Let's just get right into it, bro. Pond, formerly known as Lending Pond, you have now branched into so many other things and so much. I don't even think we can probably pack it into just one interview. So I'll probably be having you on again. And I'd like to welcome you to my Discord as well, you and your partner. But for right now, let's just kind of start from the beginning and from the formation of everything you've done up until this point now. And then we'll talk about all the fun things you have going. So, do I address it now as Pond or Lending Pond, just for the listeners to know?
Let's go with Pond, but if you have to go with the Lending Pond throughout the video, totally fine. I forget it half the time too. So
I'm sure. It takes time for a rebranded name to kind of set into the mindset or whatever. But so let's talk about Pond. So the beginning, even maybe before the project was formed, and like I said, you guys are morphing so much into so many things. But from the beginning, how did this whole thing start and come about?
Okay, so from the very beginning, before Pond was even formed, there's kind of I think the best way to describe it is a ton of rivers were flowing, and they were all like these separate problems, right? And they all kind of came together into this delta that was Pond, right? But there's a couple of separate problems. First was that DeFi utility on Cardano, specifically for NFTs, was lacking. We could buy and we could sell an NFT, and that was pretty much it. So practically we're in the Stone Ages. All we could do was buy and sell, and there wasn't any actual detailed financial mechanisms to allow people to really unlock liquidity or to make money moves per se, right? That was one problem. The next problem was that, kind of going a little bit deeper into just the buying and selling, was currently, like before Pond was formed, let's say you had an NFT, Spacebud, 10,000 ADA. And the only way that you could realize that 10,000 ADA, right, was to go onto a marketplace and to sell it, to say goodbye to your Spacebud forever, and then take that liquidity. It was a one-time extraction. And we're like, okay, that's great. And we're glad that we have that mechanism, but we need to offer more options. So that's how Lending Pond was created initially. And in the very, very beginning, we did kind of a trial run. And it's important, just as a founder, if you're creating some kind of DeFi application, it's always possible to do a trial run, and we highly suggest that you do so because, especially coding in Cardano, it's not cheap. There aren't a lot of developers, and there aren't a lot of talented developers. And if you find a talented developer, they're worth the money, regardless of what it is. If you find a good, solid developer on Cardano, they're worth the money. You just have to make sure that they're good. Anyways, we did a trial run, and basically what it was manual loans. So there was no smart contract backing the loan. It was just us operating basically as an escrow on the token of trust, saying, okay, hey, send this to this wallet address. We'll give you this ADA and repay it. And if you don't, then we'll take your asset we'll foreclose on the asset and we'll sell it to cover our losses, right? And we did that, and it was pretty good. I was busy all day dealing with loans, different people, repayments, extensions, negotiating interest, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, okay, this seems like there's a market for this. It's not just us. And we also looked to other marketplaces across different blockchains. And this already existed. For example, I think there wasn't that many. Now on ETH, there's a ton. But the first one was NFTFi. And they basically allowed users to do what you can do on Pond. And okay, this is proven on other blockchains, on Cardano, even people want to do it. So we put the time, money, effort into developing Pond, and boom, Lending Pond was created. That was kind of the background history behind it.
Awesome. And so, yeah, so there are a lot of people who know exactly what it is that you're talking about. Because in my opinion, you guys were the premier. I don't know whether you were the first or not. Maybe you know that. But in my opinion, you were the ones that when I heard about first, I'm like, okay, this is something here. This gives the option to, basically what you just kind of said. It's a liquidity play. And I know there's two sides of it. There's people who are, putting their items up there and looking for their liquidity, maybe trying to make some moves and then come back and be able to buy back their asset or whatever. And there's the lending side of it where people see an opportunity to be like, I'm either going to make a little bit of money kind of, lending out some of this, or I'm going to end up with an NFT that I got, below market price. I don't know, there's different metrics with how, NFTs are done on that. So that's my understanding of it now. And where I'm at with this. But I also saw kind of down the road, this is the way my mind works. I'm like, this could actually do so much more than what they're just doing right now. And I know that this platform was usable before you even came out with the NFTs, correct?
Yeah. So the platform went live February of 2022. And we didn't launch the NFTs until December of 2022. So it existed for a long time without any NFTs. There was a little bit of, so to backtrack just a little bit, and it answers what I was about to say is, yes, we were the first smart contract lending borrowing protocol for NFTs on Cardano. And because of that, we kind of made it exclusive access. So in the very beginning, we chose a couple projects that we would give access to only those holders to lend, right? Because not everybody wants to borrow. Everybody wants easy yield, right? So the lenders, there'll never be a shortage. It's the borrowers that, as the market cap of Cardano grows, then the amount of borrowing will grow as well. Anyways, only acronym NFTs and the Ape Society NFTs, and this was back when Ape Society was a lot smaller, only those two projects were allowed to lend. Anybody could borrow, but only the holders of those projects could lend. And then now it's Ape Society holders and Pawn NFT holders can lend. And Pawn NFT holders get a special, I want to call it a subscription, and like a special level on the platform where if you hold NFT, you get dramatically lower fees, and it's lower fees across the board, and you get some partnerships with you get some deals with some of our partner apps as well. But now we're kind of opening it up to more people to lend because the borrowing has grown over time, right? So now anybody can lend. It's just basically what price do you want to lend at? And if you hold a Pawn NFT, you'll be lending at a more affordable price. If you don't, then hey, like maybe it's a one-time loan that you want to do and it works out for you, right?
Yeah, and so you're basically allowing kind of the doors to be open for basically anybody of any need that they may have to participate in this, and it's very inclusive for all kinds of people for different reasons in this space. And I was going to say too earlier, the last time I opened my mouth to talk here, also keep in mind, so some of us, like coming from my own place, has been here for over a year now. This is how I understood it and saw it unfold. But there are a lot of people that are new, that are coming to the Cardano ecosystem. There's a lot of new people that are even coming to my YouTube channel as I continue to reach out there. So some people have no idea that you can even do this yet. So it's really good to introduce these kinds of things because, again, I think that has really helped with the liquidity issue, especially when we were still growing early on. Cardano's getting bigger. It's getting bigger every single day. There's more people coming in. There's better quality projects coming in. I talk about a lot of those here on my channel. But to have these options is really, again, not everybody might need this or might need it permanently, and some people might just need it here and now and whatever, but there's opportunities on both sides, like I was saying. So for all those new people who are here watching this interview, listen to what we're about to talk about here, because the doors of technology are being pushed, and the ability to do more and maximize what you have with your NFT assets is really, really, the limits are being pushed here. And I personally think that Pond is pushing the limits of that, which is exactly why I want you here on my channel, and I want to be working with you personally through some of the things we're going to be talking about later. So now you've kind of caught us up to where we're at right now. So you have made a lot of changes and a lot of additions to the pawn system and all the things that are coming around the corner. Feel free to talk with us about some of those things because I know about them, but the listeners don't know about them quite yet. So the stage is all yours, my friend. You guys have a lot of things in the works.
Okay. I think perhaps the first thing to start with is the biggest change. Pond is currently going from its version 1 to its version 2. So you've been in the Pawn Discord, version 2 is almost like a myth, you know? It's like Hydra for Cardano. It's like somewhere in the future, but nobody knows when. But
the mystery.
Exactly. So it was also like Vassal. We were all waiting for Vassal. Anyways,
Right.
Thank you for Cardano's updates. They're great. But we're going from version 1 to version 2, and I basically want to call it going from Craigslist to Amazon, right? Like in terms of user experience, the amount of stuff that you're able to do, and just so much more. So Lending Pond version 1 gave a lot of options that didn't exist before, but frankly, it was just borrowing and lending on NFTs. Version 2 is so much more. Pond has created so many more options for users to make yield on Cardano. So first and foremost, we transformed the lending to beyond what it initially was on version 1. So now on the version 2, you can list bundles of any combination. So you can list NFTs. You can list NFTs with tokens as a bundle. You can do just tokens as a bundle. Pretty much any combination. And we worked really hard on the bundles because people appreciate the ability to do that. And we're actually asking our users to help us find the limit for the bundle. We're at hundreds of NFTs in a single bundle listing quickly, and we still haven't found the limit to how many you can include in a bundle. So
wow.
Bundles galore is one little addition that we've made. Next is we're building out the front end and the UI for it, but we are also going to be introducing shorting to the platform. So shorting, for any of you who don't understand how it works, you don't need to go watch a 20-minute video on shorting with regards to stocks. It's a little bit different. Shorting with Pawn is going to be a lot simpler. And all it is let's say that I believe that the floor price of the, Bosscat Rocket Club, just disclaimer, nothing against Bosscat Rocket Club, first NFT project that came to my mind. We've done
first project I ever gotten involved in CNFT space too. So hey, I'm with you, bro. I love me some BZRC. But yes, perfect
great.
example.
We've done some collaboration with them, so it's just a random project.
Yes, sir.
I think that the floor price is going to go from 1,000 to maybe 700, 500. Just my thoughts, right? And let's say that Mr. Ultimate has a Bosscat Rocket Club. So I'm like, hey, would you mind if I borrowed that Bosscat Rocket Club for, let's say, a month, okay? And I promise you that I'm going to send back another Bosscat Rocket Club. So it's going to work better with floors, right? Because floor NFTs are a little bit more interchangeable.
Sure.
We're building out structures to do it for more rare NFTs, but it just needs to be more detailed. Anyways, let's say you have a floor Bosscat Rocket Club, and you're like, hey, I would like to earn yield on this Bosscat Rocket Club. Otherwise, it's just sitting in my wallet, like it's not doing anything, right? So you're like, okay, Mr. Ultimate goes, okay, Nalu, I will give you this Bosscat Rocket Club, and first you have to pay me 50 ADA right now, because hey, that's just me earning yield on my NFT. Sure. And I can't just pay him 50 ADA and take the NFT, right? Because I'll just run away with it and never give it back to steal. So I have to over collateralize that loan. So let's say that Bosscat Rocket Club right now is worth 10,000 ADA. To give him a little bit of security, I might have to give him 10,000, maybe 12,000 ADA, right? Just in case that if I don't return the NFT, then at least he's in a safe spot. We have to protect both parties here, right?
Yeah, right.
Let's say, okay, Mr. Ultimate, I give you 1,200 NFT plus a 50 ADA fee for this Bosscat Rocket Club. I take that Bosscat Rocket Club and I put it on the marketplace. I sell it for 10,000 ADA. I'm like, awesome. I have 10,000 ADA in my pocket now. What's next? Let's say, okay, well, let's say I was right, and the price of this NFT project did go down to 500 ADA. What do? I go back to the marketplace. I buy a NFT for 500 ADA. And say, okay, Mr. Ultimate, here is your Bosscat Rocket Club back. I give you the Bosscat Rocket Club back. You give me my 12,000 ADA back. You keep your 50 ADA fee, and everybody made a little bit of yield, right? Because you were going to hold that NFT anyways. If it goes down in value, at least you got the yield off of it. And I made a call, and I was right. So that's how shorting works. That's just for NFTs and collections, but you can do it with anything on Cardano. You can
So the
short.
only question I have to
Go.
cut you off real quick before you go on is, so you're talking about a scenario with a particular NFT. So once that NFT is sold, though, there's no guarantee that you're going to have that same NFT to go back and exchange with. What happens in that scenario, or does it matter that only it's within the same range of, like you said, a floor price type NFT?
Yeah, so I'll expand a little bit more on that because
Okay, all right,
I understand that people who are listening are like, wait, you just sold my NFT. I'm never going to get it back. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yes, so there's a difference between we're offering shorting and we're offering renting. And they're very similar but different. Renting is that exact situation, but I have to give you back the exact same NFT. So this works better for play to earn games if you're trying to do staking moves, right? Because you can give back the NFT, you're not selling it. Shorting, when you give the NFT, you have to be willing to just take any NFT from the collection back.
Okay, so, that's interesting. So that is a stipulation that people do know of when they engage in this kind of activity.
Yes. And in the future, like that's going to be the baseline version. In the future, we're going to add more parameters for advanced users who want to unlock those kinds of options. Where, for example, right, let's say that, hey, here is this NFT. I want this NFT back, but within this certain range of, let's say, rarity, right? Like rarity.
Okay. And could you do this based on a trait if you wanted to, maybe?
Yeah, you can do it even on a trait. Sure. Like, hey, here's this. Like, let's just say you really like alien masks. Say, hey, here's this alien mask BCRC. Just pay me back any alien mask BCRC, and we're good. Right? That's right. Pawn is all about creating definitive agreements between both parties that is completely customizable. So initially when we launch it, it's not going to be as customizable as everybody wishes. Nothing ever is. But then in the future, we'll add more parameters that users can create more specific detailed loans for shorts.
Excellent. I mean, wow. I mean, that's really a lot to wrap your mind around, even for people who are a little bit more savvy in the space and kind of know about it. Now, some people have really made almost like a living or a career, I guess you could say, off taking part in what you've already structured with what used to be lending pawn and now is pawned, even before you came out with the NFTs that give you, more accessibility and all these things. And so it is really a lot to wrap your mind around. So what I want to know is, how do you facilitate these kinds of things, and how are you able to grow from, what you have right now to some of the things that are coming and making the adjustments? And I like what you said earlier in the beginning of this interview. Look, you test things first. You make sure things work before you go out and you scale out so that you don't have any implosions. And I love that, which means you're thinking about these kinds of things as if you were somebody who not created this project, but say someone like me or some of our listeners who are like, how do I want to see this? How do I view this as, unfolding and developing? So I think that's a very insightful, and I'm glad that you guys are taking that approach, because this is a very nuanced thing we're talking about. And really, there's almost no limitations to what you can develop if you have the team in place, if you have the abilities, the tech to, host all these kinds of things. How is that run? Is this run through a website system? Is this run through, your Discord? How do these things kind of integrate with people and give them the chance to, basically get their feet wet?
Okay. I'm going to ask one question to clarify. So you're asking how these things are run. Do you mean like internally on the admin side, or do you mean how is it run in response with our community, or do you want me to kind of expand on both?
Yeah, kind of both, I guess. I kind of gave you a dual purpose question there, because there's the internals, there's the externals. So from the point of what you guys are developing, yes, and then the point of the people who are taking part in what you're developing, both sides.
Perfect. Okay. I'll do internal first and then external.
Sure, excellent, for sure.
For me personally, I am, dare I say, I was the most unorganized person ever. My room was a mess. I hated using, my room is a mess, but was more of a mess. And I hated using calendars. I would always forget meetings. I would never write anything down. And I was like, okay. And then I kind of worked on a point where I still was horrible at writing things down, but I went through like a lot of training to get it, for me to remember it all in my head. So I could remember multiple meetings in my head for the whole week, and I just wouldn't forget about it. And then, as a project founder, you realize that no matter how much headspace you have, it is not enough, right? Like, if
100% facts.
If someone put like terabytes of data into my head and like NASA computer, there's nothing that you can do to manage it all in your head. So I learned that lesson the hard way when I forgot like 4 meetings in a week, and I just felt like the most stupid person in existence. I was like, I'm learning this. So for internal management, it's anyone who's been with us from the very beginning. has seen it, even on the because this is where it transitions to the external part, right? If your internal management is messy and unorganized, it shows on the external.
Absolutely.
Like there is no way, like as much as you just want to, as much as project founders want to black box everything, right? You're like, oh, I can be disagreeing with everything with my project founders. I can have no idea what I'm doing. I could have no actual roadmap, but I'll just like sit pretty and everyone will be okay. You're not going to be okay.
That's
your
fact.
internal management complete is a direct output to how the external part of the world and your community views it. So internal in the beginning, it was unorganized and it showed. But then now, just like for the system that we use, I personally love Notion. So we use Notion as just like a project management for across the board. It's great for planning videos. It's great for managing meetings and times with other people. So that's what we use just internally to be kind of cohesive and to be organized and neat, not forget meetings such as this. And then on the external side, mainly you'll figure out, and maybe it depends kind of on your project. If you're a really NFT-based project with a lot of lore and art-based, then you're not going to have too many people. The help that people are requesting is going to be a little bit different from what we're going through. But also regarding this whole royalty question on Ethereum, a lot of projects are going to be going into DeFi in the future. So hopefully this is applicable. But you'll find out that if you offer services as part of your NFT project, lending, some kind of finance services, anything, then your Discord is going to be community. People will talk, but the only time people ever ask for help is if they're complaining. Like no one ever comes into your Discord like, "Yay, everything's working! I'm so happy." They'll come into your Discord and say, like people who join the Discord are like, "Hey, this isn't working. It's broken," right? So we have a ticket system in our Discord. We manage the tickets. We have a limit on our tickets just for us, right? So we don't handle more than 50 tickets at a time. Just so, I love how I say that casually now. I'm like, I don't handle more than 50 problems at a time anymore. Like we used to in the beginning be a lot. I'd be scrolling through tickets and I'm like, never mind, there's a cap on this, right? But have a ticket system. If you go to TicketBot, they allow you to create like custom ticket where people can click little emojis that describe their problem before the ticket's even made. So it helps kind of break down things. That's how we run things externally. Always have announcements to communicate with your people. Balance that though, right? Don't tell everyone everything because then you have to keep people interested, right? But if you manage the balance between telling people, having a roadmap, and slowly implementing and achieving that roadmap in the future. That's kind of how Pawn runs things. We're not perfect. I would say that there are teams that are much better managed than we are, but we're working on it. We're trying to be more clear and transparency has never been an issue with Pawn. It's more like we've been trying to be more active and engaged with our community and helping everybody.
Yeah, and so that leads me kind of sort of to like I guess the second part of this question, because obviously everything that you're attempting to implement and that you've already implemented, like I said earlier, it's very nuanced. It's very you have to really learn how to do this if you want to do it correctly. So for like say somebody who's never used your platform whatsoever, never on the lending or the borrowing side of that, where did they go and how do they learn about this and how do they actually, let's say they want to go and they want to take part, whether the lending or the borrowing side, of being involved in everything that Pond allows them to, whether even if they don't own an NFT, let's say they just want to come in for one time, they want to experience the whole thing. Walk somebody through that process, just from like where they go, how they start to do it, as if they've never even heard of this until now. Because there's probably a lot of people who are watching this that are in that exact same position. I can guarantee it.
Okay. Hey, you have an NFT, you have no idea what you're doing, but you're like, hey, there's this thing called Pond. Apparently, I make money on it. It's going to be great. Financial disclaimer, we don't make anyone money. There's no financial advice. It's all fake internet money and none of it exists. But there is this thing called Pond. What do? Best thing, join our Discord. There are people who are active there, and we're not always talking about like social things. It's really just a support group for people who want to get into this. Go to our Discord. If you have no idea what you're doing, literally just ask in the chat, hey guys, I want to do either my first lend or my first borrow. I've never done this before. I promise you within 10 minutes, there will be a myriad of people who say, hey, of course we can help you. And they'll help you right there in front of everyone. That's kind of, it's a really personal interaction right now. In the future, though, we're trying to make your life a little easier. It's just we're really busy with developing right now that we haven't had the resources or the time to allocate to building this. But in the near future, there's going to be, when you log on to Pond, you'll connect your account and it'll see, like, if you've ever done a loan before, if you've ever done a short before. And when you click, like, create short, there'll be a little model that pops up. Her name will be Iris, because that's just what Pond's kind of going with, this Greek theme. If you look at our NFT project, it's Greek letters. So Iris will pop up and she'll say, hey, I noticed that you've never done a short before. Would you like me to help you walk through it?
Oh, no kidding. So you have an automated bot that kind of helps people with that.
Though not currently, but yes.
Okay,
it's being
but that's the
right
plan
now.
anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you and for sure.
She'll be like, okay, let's create a sample listing together. And
wow.
It'll highlight, like, okay, first here, go to your profile. And you click your profile. It's like, okay, select a sample NFT. So click a sample NFT. Like, okay, so now you're going to be borrowing this asset for someone, hoping to buy it back cheaper at a later price. So you need to give them more than what this asset is worth. So you need to give them perhaps this amount of money. And then you put that in. And she'll walk through the entire process with you. And then at the end, she'll be like, okay, you've created your first listing. Do you want me to pop up again later in the future to remind you, or do you think you got it? And then they're like, okay, I got it, or maybe remind me again in the future. And we're hoping to build that out for as all of our services. So anyone who's like even never done a sale before, right? Like if you've never done an NFT sale before, you're like, what am I doing? Help you walk through that as well. So we're really going into this user onboarding experience because we can offer all the services in the world, but if nobody understands how to do it, it's pointless.
Right. And if you can't facilitate the ability to have, like, let's just call it mass adoption, for lack of better words, you've got more people, coming in, being interested to take part in either side of this coin that you allow them to flip, and then, offering the shorting as well. So it's really like understanding what you're doing. If you don't understand what you're doing, you're either going to lose interest or be maybe too intimidated, or just kind of maybe sit and watch and see. Well, all the time, especially if you have got a nice portfolio and you want to take advantages of, liquidity bounces in and out to make other plays or whatever, this is a very advantageous system that you're building here. And I love the fact that you have this idea that, there's an automated system that you're working on creating to help people with that, because you won't always have the manpower per se. Like, let's say it blows up, which it totally could. You don't have like 20 people that are like, helping people individually. But for now, you've got this community that you've built, and you're saying that your community will come in and they will be like, take it upon themselves because they understand it and they see, they're just an awesome community. That's what communities are so good about. If they love what you're doing, they're going to naturally be inclined to help new people come in. So you've got this community that's willing to do that right now, correct?
Correct.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, that just goes to show how many people are already seeing, and understanding what you're building and developing and what's coming down the pipe. And so, I guess one of the questions I have is, obviously it's not just you. I know you have a partner. Tell me a little bit about the relationship with your partner. And then also, I guess, like what kind of other team structure do you have for people who are, I guess beyond just a regular community member, whether it's mods, whether it's admins, people who are kind of helping you, do this? Because obviously one person can't do all this. That's impossible.
Yeah, it most definitely is impossible for just one person to do it. So my co-founder and partner and best friend, his name is Pika, and we went to the same school together. And initially, I think it's important for you to know that, like, I was not into crypto at all for the longest time. Co-founder Pika, he'll tell you walking around China in 2017 and looking at Bitcoin ads, and like he got into it really, really early, and he knew a lot about it. Me, awesome. I was thinking this is all crazy stuff that's going to be gone soon. I was into stocks and helping my father run some real estate stuff on the side, right? And he recommended a stock to me. I think it was EXPI, and it's a ticker, I don't forget, and it tanked. Like, it was almost as if someone was like, Evan, you need to get out of this space. Like, gave it to me 2 days later, some earnings report, something 60% down. I was like, dude.
Wow.
And he felt so bad. And I wasn't that frustrated about it. I was like, nah, it's fine. Like we all win some, lose some. It's good.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. You make your own decisions at the end of the day, for sure.
Exactly. I was like, I'm the one that signed it. Like I bought it.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. This whole stock thing is silly. We're going to start something great. We're going to go into crypto and just trust me. And I was like, all right. And here I am. That's kind of how that started. But me and him, we run all the operations. So projects, ideation, basically everything besides like hardcore development. We do some UI work. We do some of the front end stuff, but like the smart contract coding and everything, that's with our dev team. And then in terms of anyone like other than that, so just like in terms of operations, it's really just a 2-man army. Like we share spaces. Like I do the spaces, she does the ideation, and just kind of back and forth managing all the financials. So besides development, it's all kind of run with 2 people right now, just because we're still growing. And anybody else that isn't a community member, but like a little bit higher, we don't have mods right now. Like at least we don't pay mods. But that's what I'm saying. Like our community is so great where you can just hop in and somebody will help you. And it's basically a mod system right there. Like we have trusted people who, if you're in this community, if you're in our Discord, like you know that they have your best interest. They have your best interest at heart.
That says a lot about what you've already done for me personally. Somebody who looks into community first. That really does say a lot.
Yeah. So I'm not sure there's some Twitter account, but you can copy people's product, but you can't copy communities. So we have a community that's I'm really grateful for. It's not huge. Like you don't log into the Discord, it's like 20,000 members, right?
Right.
It's 1,000 people who are there every day, and they're like willing to help you. So I prefer that over a large Discord of just invite links and bots. But anyway, not the point. If you're interested in having some kind of larger role within Pond, we do have a couple people. Like we have someone who's helping us with our marketing, who kind of does like flyers and artists and stuff like that. And then we also have kind of a announcements guy helps us with our announcement and just planning and stuff like that. But to summarize, it's a really small team, actually. Like we have a lot of devs, but in terms of management and operations, it's like 2-3 people max.
Right. But as you guys kind of scale out and start to implement some of these things that we've been talking about here, and I know there's even more than what we've talked about now, you're definitely going to be absorbing more people to kind of fill those roles. And it sounds to me like you have this great idea that you've got a test run. It's already worked. Now you've gone bigger essentially, and you've provided these NFTs now. Like you said, I remember when I first found out about the fact that you guys were minting NFTs, I'm like, how did I miss this? Like, how did my eyes and ears as somebody who, creates content in the space miss this? Well, the space is big enough now to where no one person can filter all of the information that's coming down.
Yeah.
And so I was bummed that I missed it, but I am a pawn holder, and and a lot of that is going to be geared towards what I'm doing coming up with everything that I've got going on. But I want to touch on a couple of things you said. So within the Discord and the numbers, like you talk about bots, we talk about all these things. I've always said that quality over quantity is what makes a great community and a great project. And having, we don't need a million fake numbers, and those things, they will show up on mint day. But back to your mint was a smashing success. I mean, it was absolute. You guys sold out as far as I remember, right? You guys sold out, and it was a pretty high mint price, but people were like clamoring to get these. And the secondary was absolutely cracking. That was crazy.
Yeah. We did a whitelist mint first, and in hindsight, probably should have given them a full 24 hours. The whitelist mint window was like 5 hours or 4 hours, and it was buggy initially too. So people were already scrambling with
those things happen.
And then when we went to public, it sold out in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So like there was a point where like we were like it already the moment we went public, it was like sold out. I was like, hey, it's bugging. And he's like, no, we're already processing refunds. So that was nice. In terms of we're glad that it worked, and it gave us a little bit of runway to provide enough funds for these next couple of months of development. So yeah, and if you ever look at the Pawn project, I can't state like my personal opinion on like where it's at, because I don't want to. Like it's just, hey, like that's the Pawn NFT. If you think it's a good decision, then you go for it, right? But for me, no one understands how much it's going to not be worth. No one understands the value that it's going to be providing in the near future, because Pawn right now is very small. But we launched. I mentioned shorting, and I talked a lot about it, just because I think it's a really cool mechanism. The bigger thing than shorting is our marketplace. We'll be launching a marketplace And it's basically like Robinhood coming to Cardano, right? Robinhood shook everything up within stocks because they offered free trading, right? Everyone's like, whoa, I don't have to pay money to buy and sell a stock anymore. It's free. Everyone's, what? How does Robinhood make money, right? And of course, they make money through multiple revenue streams, right? Because it's a logical thing to do, to have a business that has multiple streams of revenue. But that's what Pawn's doing. We aren't just we're not just a buying and selling marketplace. We have a loan marketplace. It's a marketplace for shorting NFTs. So of course, the buying and selling is the majority of volume, right? So we're like, hey, why not provide that for free? So when you go to the Pawn marketplace, you don't pay a 2% fee for buying and selling the NFT. It will be free. And of course, it isn't something that's going to happen forever. It is like an onboarding process that we're going through. And eventually, in the future, they'll transition to something that's nominal. And even then, like, I think it's a little bit of like an up and down curve, right? So it's free, and then it's going to go down to like, so it's probably, I'm not going to say what the fee structure is going to be in the far future, but it's going to be something where you don't think about it. Like, for example, there was 180,000 ADA ape that was sold, and somebody paid 3,600 ADA to just sell that, right? And that's going to be so gone. Like that, just the commission model isn't sustainable. Like, isn't good for users, is what I'll say. Anyways, and then I think though it's inevitable that as time progresses, all the marketplaces will have zero fees for buying and selling NFTs. It's absurd to think, if you own a marketplace, in my opinion, that you can charge fees forever, right? And in my opinion, all the people who are running marketplaces right now, they're smart people. They know what they're doing, and they know that this commission-based model is a very short-time thing. It is not going to be here forever. Anyways.
So just for clarification, we're talking about, like, say, let's use JPEG, for instance. You're talking about the 2% that they charge.
Yeah.
Correct?
So
okay.
That 2%, just my opinion, they won't be able to charge that 2% for forever. Because,
well, I agree with you, because number one, even if we have just simply a model of, competition, more people, opening these things, and people already coming in and wanting, the first thing they want to do is lower the fees for that. That creates it for sure. But then I feel like you're talking about, there's more to it. So please go on.
Yeah, it should be just about the fees. And I could talk a lot about fees, and I've done a lot of research into how fees work, but we don't have unlimited time, and there's other stuff we got to talk about. So I'll try to condense as soon as possible. Long story short, this whole marketplace thing on Cardano could be a movie. There was CNFT in the beginning.
Plenty of drama.
There was CNFT in the beginning, and then they didn't offer smart contracts, and they didn't offer royalties, and then on came JPEG Store, and then there has been 14 attempts to gain market share, all of them unsuccessful. And people have tried 1% fees. People have tried flat ADA fees. People have tried any kind of fees. No one's tried zero fees. So we'll see how that goes. But I don't think we're not banking on the zero fee to be the entire thing. Because look at Apple. You break that down, the price that they're charging makes 0 cents. Like the value, it's the value that you're getting for that iPhone that makes people willing to pay that price. And JPEG Store provides that value. All the listings are there. And that's why people are going to JPEG Store. And you can create a marketplace with very low fees, but there's going to be nobody on that marketplace. You're not going to get anything. So the problem, and the reason why you understood what I'm hinting at, and I'm going to try to say it in 40 seconds, is short answer, Floorless. Please go to Twitter and search up the Floorless project. Are you familiar with Floorless?
I'm not actually. I've heard a little bit, but I don't know quite enough.
In 2 months, everybody will know what Floorless is. It's basically like ADA handle on steroids. So what the main thing, in my opinion, and they're doing a lot of things such as enforcing royalties on chain and bulk listings and blah, 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 blah. But Pond is the first official partner of Floorless, and they're partnering with a lot of other marketplaces already. And the biggest thing, in my opinion, is right now in the real estate market, right? Like actual physical houses, like the one that I'm in right now, you imagine if you could only list your house on one website. Right? Like it would be so silly. You should be able to list your house everywhere. You should be able to put signs and posters on 10 different websites and get as much outreach as possible. That's what Floorless does. Floorless is like, why should you only be able to list on one marketplace. So what Floors doesn't allow people to do is allow people to list on all the marketplaces simultaneously. And then then it has nothing to do with who has the listings, because everybody will have all the listings. And then it's whose fees are better, whose user experience is better, whose brand is better. Those are the things that people need to be focusing on. Fees don't mean anything. I mean, like the listings will mean something, but everyone's gonna have listings in 2 months, is what I'm gonna say, right? So that's kind of my opinion on where it's gonna go. Flawless is gonna change a lot about the space.
I love to hear those kinds of things, because that's like breeding ultimate competition. Like, boom, here you go. Things have changed. That happens a lot in this space. I mean, even just like you look at the last 6 months of things that have taken place in the Cardano ecosystem for NFTs, and it's like mind blowing what people are coming up with. But, I appreciate you sharing some of that with us too, because again, there are people who are new to this whole thing that watch my channel all the time. That circle of influence is always reaching out and bringing people into the Cardano ecosystem. The best thing they can learn to do is to be well informed on everything that there is now, but also pay attention to what's coming down the pipe, because things do change. People like yourself, you're obviously you're a young man. You're very intelligent. You are taking, the best of what you know and understand, and you're changing. You're helping change the landscape of the space, which I think is fantastic, because it's never going to stop changing. There's so much to offer people, and if we just stay where we're at, everything's going to fall behind. But I believe the CNFT space is the best place for NFTs, and so people like what you're doing and developing is massive. And that partnership that you just kind of said right here, that's massive too, I believe.
It's so big. It's just right, because right now there's one marketplace with all of these listings, right? And then
it's a monopoly basically.
It's going to bring everyone to the same playing field, and it's going to start. Users are going to start asking different questions, right? Because right now, like, just frankly, I mean, we're in communication with the JPEG Store team. There's nothing wrong with them. We love them. They're a good team, and they have a good brand, and thankfully, like, they're a solid product. But you don't have an option besides JPEG Store. Like,
you really don't.
People are like, oh, I don't like JPEG Store. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, it's really your only option. There's no other option, right? So don't complain about JPEG Store. It's just JPEG Store. But eventually, people are going to be like, whoa, I can go to Flipper, and I can go to Plutus.art, and I can go to Pawn, and I can go to JPEG Store, and it's all the same thing. And then people are going to start asking themselves questions they've never asked before, because they're going to have this choice between marketplaces, and now there is no choice. But yeah, that's kind of it on that.
Well, I love it. I appreciate that information. And you were saying there's some other things we're going to talk about. Let's get into some of those. Share with us more about some of the things that you would like to talk about on this show right here, because I know some of them, but other people don't.
Okay. I think kind of the last main talking point is, I'll do the clickbait title first, and then what it actually is, right? Instant liquidity. Everybody wants instant liquidity. Put something on contract and instantly get it back, right? AMMs for NFTs.
Right, the dream.
I know. So basically what that is, it's collection offers. And if you look at basically what's really cool about operating Cardano is ETH is kind of like a time portal. Like, you can look into ETH, and it's like looking into the future 2 to 5 years. And what Cardano developers have gotten really good at is minimizing that 2 to 5 year gap, like smaller and smaller and smaller every day. So if you look at marketplaces on ETH, collection offers are a huge, huge, huge thing. And if you look at Blur, that's why they kind of exploded. Anyways, Pawn will be bringing collection offers very, very soon. And for collection offers for both buying and selling NFTs, as well as collection offers for lending. And this is all, like, that's just the basic thing. If you don't understand how a collection offer works, I'll explain it to you super simply. And it's, let's say that, again, Mr. Ultimate has a BCRC that he wants to sell, right? And initially how it works is he would have to go onto a marketplace, list the BCRC, wait for a lender to see it, and be like, do I like that one? Okay, let me get it. I'll trade that ADA, or I'll trade that USDC for that BCRC. Now, with a collection offer, like in the screen, like this little part between me and Mr. Ultimate, there's a little pool. And I can say, like, hey, I like BCRCs. I'm willing to pay 7,000 ADA for any BCRC. I can just put that ADA into a pool. And then Mr. Ultimate has the option. Of course, you can create a listing, but you can also look at the collection offers and say, hey, this person is willing to pay me 7,000 ADA for this BCRC right now. Like his ADA is right there, it's ready. All I need to do is give him a BCRC, and boom, instant money, right? So that's collection offers. That is the basic understanding of it. I'll tell you right now, Pond has four. That's not four. Pond has four completely separate, nothing to do with each other applications for collection offers. Because basically it's a pledge, right? Like you're pledging ADA to a certain action. With that, so many possibilities. One that I'm willing to talk about is, for example, collection offers for project founders, right? So let's say that Mr. Ultimate, after his NFT mint, he says, okay, I have X amount of ADA that I want to generate yield on. Perhaps I want to grow this pot that I want to use to provide utility to my holders to make their lives a little bit better because I'm a great project founder. What you can do is that there's an that we will be building out an admin side specifically for project holders. And it will say like, hey, like we will communicate with you individually, set your stake address to be like officially recognized as the project founder of that project. And you can delegate ADA to the collection offer for other projects. So other projects might have a lot of liquidity, right? For example, Ape Society, hundreds of thousands of ADA in loans every month. But then also we want to establish this as a kind of sign of trust or almost like an industry standard for new mints and say like, hey, everybody, Mr. Ultimate can say, hey, I'm pledging. I'm not saying he should. Actually, a project owner can say, hey, project, I'm pledging 10% of the mint proceeds will go into a collection offer for our project. So that basically means that after the NFT mint, any NFT holder will be able to take their NFT and instantly get a loan. And that's going to be huge for small projects when they initially mint. It's just a lot of utility that gives them something that just wasn't in existence before. And of course, then there's collection offers for mints as well. Like there's just so much, right? But we can't tell you all of that because they're competitors, and we need to
sure gotta protect your ideas, man. Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's it. Oh, one more thing that I need to talk about that's really important with the version 2. There's so much that I forget about it, you know?
That's all right. Like I said, you could always come back on and talk more, man. Yeah. But like I said in the beginning of this, there's a lot going on. So, hey, that's proof in the pudding, man.
Last crucial thing. And then, of course, there's a million other things, but this is the last crucial thing. They're called super duper loans. And this changes a lot. And here we kind of need 3 parties, right? But I'm going to give another example. And basically how it works is, let's say that Mr. Ultimate lists a BCRC for 10,000 ADA. And I'm like, hey, I would love to buy that BCRC, but I do not have 10,000 ADA right now. Maybe I'll get it later. So what I can do is I can put a down payment on that NFT. And I can say, okay, I only have 3,000 ADA. I'll put the 3,000 ADA, and then a loan will appear on the lending and borrowing side of Pond. And then a lender will see, hey, this guy is trying to buy this BCRC for 10,000 ADA. He put 3,000 ADA down. Now he needs a loan on the remaining 7. It's basically like a mortgage on NFTs. And then the lender can say, okay, I'll finance the rest of your mortgage. He'll send it to 7,000. The smart contract pulls the 7,000 with the 3,000 and sends it to Mr. Ultimate. Now Mr. Ultimate's out of the equation, right? You got your 10,000 ADA. You don't care where it came from. It's there, and you're happy. Now the NFT sits in a smart contract, and the borrower pays the rest of the loan off. And if he pays it off, then he gets the NFT. Yay, he's happy. And if he doesn't pay it off, then the lender who gave the NFT gets it at a discount, right? Because technically he only bought it for 7,000 rather than 10. There's so much you can do with this, so much, and I can't talk about that. I can do another hour just on applications for this model. But the buy now, pay later model is going to become very, very, very prominent throughout the space.
Wow. I mean, that's going to take, a lot of, I guess, infrastructure to do, unless it's more simple than I'm thinking, because now, since I haven't done this myself, I don't quite wrap my mind around it. But I'm sure there's a lot of people who are listening who feel the same way I do, but there's also people who are like, I totally get it. Light bulb, like, wow. Where do you guys come up with these kind of ideas? Because obviously, because I can relate with that, because I come up with stuff all the time. Whether I'm trying to lay down and get some sleep, or whether I'm just doing something, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I never thought of that before. And it just drops in my head. It's like an airdrop, of like, I could do this.
Yeah.
How does that happen for you, man? Like, is it you and your partner, you discuss these things? Is he like the main idea guy? Do you guys really both just have a lot of influx of just brain power to come up with understanding of the market and how to make things better for people?
I would say that definitely my co-founder has a lot on the ideation side. Like, his brain is really creative in that way. I would say that just for both of us, we're a little bit blessed in the way that it almost is like an airdrop, right? Like, I get ideas at the most random points of the day. Showers are a nice time. Runs sometimes. I'm in class and I'm zoned out. Little stuff.
Yes.
But if you're not like that, and like, let's say like you're like, oh, that doesn't happen to me, I'm doomed. No, go look at the future. Go look at different blockchains and see what they're doing. And you can bring a lot to Cardano that doesn't exist already.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And, for my channel as well, most of what I do is not even have anything to do with influencing, so say. It's about education. I myself want to be as educated as I possibly can, both as an investor, as a lender, as, the opportunity for liquidity. But what you were saying earlier, for founders, I'm developing my own things. I've got a lot of stuff planned. I'm like you, I can't talk about everything sometimes, and I want to, but I can't, because you know what? I have to protect what I'm doing until I've kind of sort of done it, in a way, or at least for the most part. And so I totally identify with that. But these are very exciting times. The development of Cardano, I feel like, is on the fast forward button. It's like lightning. I wake up, I tell my wife this all the time. It's funny because I'm actually going to have my wife watch this interview so she can understand my position as well. Like you said about the terabytes, you could have all the room in the world in your brain and never have enough room for everything that we as founders do. So I totally identify with you on that as well. But, like Cardano, I believe is just, the time is ripe for massive innovation to take place. And people like yourself and your partner, and what Pond is doing is really bringing so much to this space in regards of like, you're opening the doors of things that weren't here before, and you're providing opportunities for people to take their investment strategies to the next level. Investing in NFTs, in my opinion, can be so simple, and it can also be so complex if you choose to go that route. Some people come, they get their feet wet, they buy their first couple of NFTs. Like myself, being sort of a Cardano maxi, I guess you could say. I came in, I had Cardano since 2017, found out very late that they were doing NFTs because I was so concentrated on the crypto space itself, but came in, bought my first BCRC, boom, resurrected my channel. Here I am now doing all the things that I'm doing. And so there's an entry level to everyone, individually based. And so I'm excited to be able to showcase what we've been talking about here to the people who are tuning in and being like, whoa, I didn't know you could do all this with NFTs. I didn't know you could take it and make a business strategy out of it. So there, again, mind blown from my point of view. I'm sure from people who are watching this, as well as, by the way, we're almost like even an hour into this conversation. For people who are watching this, like, you're my true supporters, and I appreciate it. And you're obviously captivated and fascinated as much as I am, being the interviewer here, learning about all these things that Pond is coming up with. I'm actually very impressed. My mind is a little bit blown. I can't wait to learn a little bit more about how to implement these things for advantageous points for myself and both my community that I've developed. But wow, hit a like, hit a subscribe, you guys. Leave some comments below and let us know what you think about the development of Pond, or maybe you have an idea, or maybe you just want to join and be a part of this community and learn as much as you can. All of those links are in the description box below. And I know that we're going to have you on again, because I can't wait to find out the things that you're doing now but haven't been done yet. And when they come, I want to share them with people, because I think it's fascinating what you're doing. And there's a lot of intelligence put to this. This is obviously something you spend a lot of time on. And I feel like something like this is going to absolutely consume, your time, your energies, your efforts into developing them, and just not having an idea, but having a working model as well. And so, for now, for this interview, anything else you want to share with us right now, or anything else you want to tell some of the people who are watching? Because I'll tell you, when people watch into an hour into an interview, those are some dedicated people who are just like salivating to learn, how to take part in these kinds of things.
I think that if you made it to this point, you're one of two kind of people. One, you understood half of what I said and you're like, okay, this is cool. My response to you is please go to our Discord. You can call me anytime you want. Like I'll call someone I've never met before over Discord, or I'll just chat with you if you don't want to call, and I'll answer any questions you might have.
That's awesome.
Other type of user, you listen to this all went right over your head. So you're like, this is kind of cool and I want to learn, right? And my response to you is, when I first went into NFTs, I had no idea what it was. I was like, why can't you just screenshot it? And I was at that point, right?
Right.
And I remember feeling so lost. I was like, what are projects? Like, and I remember those feelings. And the best thing to do is find a friend in this space. Mr. Ultimate, it seems like an amazing person to help guide you through that process. He knows so much. He's been here for a long time. Find somebody, stick close to them, and it is amazing how much you can learn. That's kind of my response to you. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, yeah, please subscribe to his channel. He provides amazing content, and he's just a kind person. And the longer you're in Cardano, you're going to realize that it's really not something that exists on a large scale. So you should be happy. You should be really proud of yourself for finding somebody as good as this. So, like, kudos to you as well as Mr. Ultimate. Thank you for having me on the channel today. I really appreciate all the time, effort that went into this.
Hey, thank you, man. Look, I appreciate you being here, Nalu. I'm again so impressed, and I'll tell you the same thing on camera that I tell you in private, and even more so now because this is way more in depth than the conversation we had initially, where I first got to meet you and know what you're doing. But again, mind blowing. You guys, the sky literally is the limit for what you're developing and what you're bringing here. And it's a game changer for the space. And you shared so much information with that. And I truly appreciate that, because the people who watch my channel are very loyal subscribers, and they really stick it out. They want to know about these kinds of things. And the more I learn, the more I want to help other people who are part of my family that I've created here learn as well. I will be working closely with you guys from the creator side of all the things, the opportunities that you're creating for people like me. So from me to you, thank you for that. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your hard work. And so, hey, listen, guys, we're going to get this uploaded right now, because I think everybody needs to hear as much as they possibly can about this. Feel free to share this, anywhere you guys like. That my content is your content. Let's trigger that algorithm. Let's get people in the space, especially new people, to have the information they need to be the wisest investors they can. We all have a unique circle of influence, and everybody needs to know that the more information you have, the better investor you become, and the more you can share with your friends and your family, your coworkers, all those things. Cardano is the cream of the crop, in my personal opinion. This is a perfect example of exactly why and the innovations that are coming to us. So, hey, listen, peace out. God bless. I'll check you next time.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Woo!